Kuvera was surprised he didn't even blink twice before finishing off Vasuki, who was integral for handling the police department in Indragarh. Because of Vasuki, the entire law and order of the city was functioning like a dream. But just like that, Kali killed him off. Kali had a dream to hold all the Tiavan Bialis together and constitute a powerful force against the Manavs. It was the war between the two that had caused his village to burn and his siblings to be killed. After his parents' death, he was the one to take care of all his family members. But they all died gruesomely, a pity Kali would always think about. He thought he would redeem himself if he didn't let other families get destroyed by the two warring factions, so he got them the truce. Now the truce didn't work. It was far more complicated than he had imagined. He had to do something else. Violence had been cementing only in the short run. He thought about Durukti and how he had mistreated her. Maybe he was wrong, but it was the right thing to do. He had to put her straight, and he had his own reasons behind it. His parents had died because they were betrayed, and he didn't want to go down the same path again. Asuras were an extinct race in the land of Ilavarti. Find your heritage. He needed to reach the farthest recesses of the Asura lands, learn about their true language, a culture that was largely forgotten. He was a product of migration, as that's what his parents did when they were debarred from their own lands. Kali knew little of it, for he was small, but many stories were narrated to him by his father. When Kali would think about why he was destroying the life of the village boy from Shambhala, it was not just because of Durukti, but because he had to make an example. Capital punishment was rare, but the village boy would be the first such exhibition. It could be done by a snap of his fingers. Fear had to grip the city, suffocate it, and submit itself in front of Kali. That was how he would be able to stop all the political killings and factionalism. Hypocrisy was fatalistic, and Kali was going down that path. But he knew that in order to end political murders, he needed to set stern examples, and killing Vasuki had been a step taken towards self-preservation, an almost adjunct aspect to Kali's personality. The funeral was over. Vasuki's body was not burnt like others, but rested underground with coins, jewelry, and a snake statue. He had learnt about the Naga rituals. They believed in afterlife. Kali didn't believe in this horseshit. For him it was this life, and he had to make the most of it. Mansa looked at all of them, tears streaming down from her eyes. Her limp hand shook as if it wasn't able to take the grief of losing her Rotha, and then she left. Not a word was spoken. But then words were controllable, actions weren't. Kali saw her leave, and when she was out of sight, Kuvera was the first one to jump. She's going to be a problem, Commander. She's angry, and she will take a drastic action. You need to make her sleep, or else we will do. Kali watched Kuvera. He was always a problem to him. I will talk to her, Kali said. Would talking help? Vedanta asked, a little puzzled. We should do what Kuvera said. Killing her would only lead to rebellion by the Nagas, and they hold an important position in the entire city. Don't let foolishness take hold of your brain. It has a habit of infecting weak minds. Kali grimaced, leaving behind the dumbstruck men. He knew he had to do something, but for everything he must wait. In his study, he had been going through the books of his ancestors, looking over for information about the Asuras. He had got several history books from the library as well, trying to understand the society, but none featured Asuras at any great depth. Most of the accounts were either secondary or even tertiary. He was disappointed. What was going on with him? Why was he growing delusional? He had to stop acting crazy. Salvation? What kind of salvation are the voices talking about? Kali walked to the book and picked it up again, and he saw it was ordinary now. No face was coming out of it talking to him. It was fine. What was going on with him? Why was he growing delusional? He had to stop acting crazy. Salvation? What kind of salvation are the voices talking about? Kali walked to the book and picked it up again, and he saw it was ordinary now. No face was coming out of it talking to him. It was fine. Kali sighed, closing the book back, wiping his sweat. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Kali bade the person to enter, and Coco let the familiar figure through. It was none other than Mansa, with her showy robes and identifiable limp hand. Mansa stood there silently for a while. Kali walked to the other end of the table and sat on the straw chair. His fingers danced over his temples thoughtfully. You called for me? Mansa's voice was razor sharp and cold. I did indeed, Kali said. Please sit down. Mansa did so, but it felt as if she was forcing herself to do it. Reluctance was stamped over all her actions. I hope you are not planning to leave the city. Mansa didn't respond straight away. She remained silent until she eventually nodded, smiling, but the smile had an angry edge to it. You know, my brother was murdered the same way my father was betrayed and slit slit at the throat, the same modus operandi. Kali nodded, showing sympathy through his expressions to let Mansa know that he was deeply apologetic. I have heard about your father. He was a great man. I don't plan to leave the city, darling. She beamed through cold and yet sad eyes. I'm going to stay right here where I'm needed the most. I know that's what Vasuki. There was almost a hidden agenda building inside her, and Kali could feel it. She was calculative. Just don't know who could do this to Vasuki. Oh, I know who all did it. She looked at him sharply, and Kali noticed there was a hint of bemusement on her face. How's your health? You have been awfully alright. Some might say it is a miracle since your health had been degrading rapidly. Durukti helped me. At the thought of Durukti, Kali pursed his lips. He had forgotten to apologize to her, and she must be fiercely angry at him. He would leave instantly for her after this blasted meeting. Vasuki had come to visit me. I know he threatened you, Kali. She didn't even have the courtesy to call him by his title. She was blunt and straight. A part of it made Kali glad at least there was one honest person. And you were attacked later by a Naga, but it wasn't as if I find out by any chance that you had any involvement in Vasuki's death. I will skin and peel you alive because you have proved to be such a sore disappointment. Kali nodded. I'm sure you'll find the culprit. In fact, you can use my investigators Coco and Vikoko. They will look into it as well. I already have my boys at service looking to find whoever it was. My dear, you don't have to worry about my well-being. And she meant it as if she was aiming at Kali's well-being instead, which would be under duress and threat in the near future. All right, Kali coughed, feeling something was stuck in his throat. Perhaps it was Soma's after effects. Not only would it bring a warm taste to his mouth, but he felt like coughing his guts out, but then he would be all right. After that, just as suddenly, I had summoned you here for the latest trials that we will be taking up in the city. Vasuki used to be part of the Council of Judges, but now since his passing, to pass you the title. Mansa watched him as if Kali was trying to get something out of her, but Kali showed no emotion. He knew if he would end up doing it, it would only create more suspicion and animosity from the snakes, and he needed Mansa for administrative stability. Even though she would stab him in the back with her dagger, with the first chance she got, Mansa had to be shown that she still mattered. Even though Kali had no care in the world to appease her, she had to be shown respect, as if her voice still meant something in the government. You want me to help you in the decision making? In all fairness, the jurors make the decisions, but yes, we can overrule or accept them. Any particular men we are holding on trial? Kali shrugged, trying to act as if there was none that mattered to him in the process. Not really, just the ordinary folks, be it flogging or branding. We need to decide which punishment to go with. Many trials occur in one day. It'll be mundane, and it is not a compulsion. If you don't want to come, Mansa nodded. It's always a pleasure to be accepted in this city's daily affairs. That surprised Kali, but he showed no hint of it. He had a cold face, drawing back his eyes malevolently, watching her. Also, since Vasuki has passed on, I'm putting up a letter for authoritarian locus standi. I'm appointing myself as not just your puny judge in a stupid unimportant trial, but also as the head of Nagas in this city. I will personally increase the police protection so that there won't be any more cases like this, at least for my people. Mansa stood up, whispering, almost you poked the wrong bear, Kali. Now, darling, see the world burn around you. And with that, she left, flinging the door shut behind her. There was an absolute silence in the room. After that, Kali sat there in the chair. Did he really poke the wrong one? But then he would have competition. What was the fun in not having conflict out of his actions? She would come, she'd not go back, though Kali would hold her in his vice-like grasp. He had to find how he would be able to kill his opposition, and by opposition it meant the entire council leaving him out.